Today I want to show you several examples. These examples are actually very similar to the question on the test. I hope once you check the video, they are actually helpful. Also, I just want to remind you for these two questions here, you can always pause, practice on your own, and then later come back to check your answer with mine. So let's get started. Let's read the first one. The first one says, given the following sequence, and we have four numbers listed here, and then the question asking us to write an explicit formula for the nth term. Once I want to remind you, for the word nth term, explicit formula, we have many ways to say that. Sometimes we call a general formula, or sometimes we call write a rule. So basically the idea is to tell us how do I find a n. So let's check this sequence. If we just observe the numbers very closely, 6 to 10 plus 4, 10 to 14 plus 4, and then, so we notice that this is going to be a, yes, you're right, arithmetic. So this is a arithmetic sequence, and 6 plus 4, what do we call them? Yes, it's common difference 4. So write explicit formula basically where I figure out how do I use the terms we already know in the sequence to predict any terms like in the future. For example, I know the first, second, third, fourth. How can I use the first term to predict like a hundredth term without keep doing adding 4? The formula we mentioned before is this one. I mean, since this is multiplication between this part and this, so you can just put a d in the front or in the back, doesn't matter. But let's check the structure here. This structure tells us, in order to find nth term, let's say in order to find the 13th term, we need to add how many times for the common difference? We need to add 12 times. So that's it. All I need to do in order to find an, I just plug in the ones I know. Do I know the first term here? 6. And n, again, this is random terms, so we still keep n here. Common difference, which is 4. So some student might say, can I stop here? Basically, no. We prefer to simplify everything we can. So this is once you see the parentheses, we can always use distributive formula. So it's going to be 4n minus 4. And we can combine the terms we already know, which is we put a 4n. You can put a 4n in the back, that's fine. 6 minus 4 plus 2. So this is our explicit formula. So some students wonder, how do I use it then? So once I know that, now I'm going to say, hey, can you help me to find A40? Then I can just totally use this formula to do it. So this formula says 4n plus 2. So since n is 40, the 40th term, I just put n as 40. So this is 160 plus 2. So that means A40, we don't need to keep adding 4 until get the final answer. I can just use this formula to tell me any term in the future, especially for the very big terms. It's very easy to use. Okay, so that's one example I want to share with you. Let's check the second one. Second one, let's read together. Determine how many seats are in an auditorium with 30 rows of seats if there are 20 seats in the first, 24 in the second, 28 in the third, and so on. So the question telling us how many seats are in the auditorium. So basically, let's check the number here. So first we know the first. So let's say this is A1 first, A2 24, A3 28. And we know how many seats, how many rows together. We have 30 rows. We don't know this number yet. We can just keep it here. But the question asking us how many seats in total. So basically, we need to add them together, right, in order to find everything. And if you just look closely, each number here is adding 4, adding 4. So that means this is a arithmetic sequence. And if we want to add all terms together, and what we call them? Arithmetic series. Again, the series meaning find the sum of the term in the sequence. And we do have a formula. If you forget, you can always go back to check the video I provided before. This formula says to add all terms together in an arithmetic sequence, I don't need to do like manually adding all numbers. I can just put this formula. To use this formula, I need to know what is the total terms, how many terms am I adding, what is the first term, and what is the last term in this sequence. Let's say I want to add a first 15 terms. So n is going to be 15, a1, whatever the term, you know the first, and what's the value of the 15th term. Okay, so let's check what information do we have. How many terms we are going to add together in this case? Yes, n is 30. Do I know the first term? Yes, I know, 20. Now, do I know since n is 30, I need to know, hey, what is 30's term? Seems we do have first 3, but we don't know a 30's. So we need to find out this answer first, right? So some student might say, then how do I find it? Remember the previous question, we can use general formula or we say explicit formula to find a 30. So let's do that. So a 30 we know is a1, n minus 1, which is for this case is 30s, right? So 30 minus 1 times the common difference, which is 4. So let's plug in. First term, which is 20, plus 31, no, 31, sorry, 30 minus 1 times, what's the common difference? 4. Some students want to do the distributive property, which is perfectly fine. Actually, you know what? If I get 29, it's like, let's do the distributive property. So 30 times 4, 120, 1 times 4 minus 4, and then we can do from the left to the right. 140 minus 4 is 136. Okay, so what does that mean? That means a 30 is 136, so we can plug in here. So now I'm going to put everything. In order to find this series, I'm going to put everything there to find this whole sum. So let's put everything here. Let's use a different color. N is 30. Let's put everything here. The first term is 20, and the last term we already find it, 136 divided by 2. You can always do a distributive property, or if you want to use calculator, we can do that too. So when we do that, we type the top part. You don't need to break down. You can just type everything. You already see that. And put the parentheses. 20 plus 136. And then let's see what's the answer. So the answer is 4680 divided by 2. So you can just divide it by 2. So the answer we know that, which is 2,340. So that's the total seats in this auditorium. So that's how do we use arithmetic series to find out the answer. First, we figure out this is arithmetic sequence, and then we use a formula to find the answer. But if we do miss anything here, you want to do some extra practice here, like extra steps here to figure out the missing value in this formula to find the answer, okay? I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions, you can always email me. Good luck, everyone.